Long ago, in the mighty Persian Empire, there was a kingdom ruled by King Xerxes. It was a vast and powerful land, stretching far and wide, filled with riches, culture, and danger. This is the story of a young Jewish girl named Esther, who rose from obscurity to become queen and risked her life to save her people. A story of courage, faith, and trusting in God's purpose, even when the odds are stacked against you. Esther was an orphan. She had lost both her parents at a young age, but she wasn't alone. Her older cousin, Mordecai, took her in and raised her as his own daughter. Mordecai taught Esther about God, about kindness, and about doing what's right even when it's hard. One day, a shocking event shook the kingdom. Queen Vashti, the king's wife, had disobeyed the king's command. Furious, King Xerxes banished her and began searching for a new queen. He ordered his servants to gather the most beautiful young women in the land and bring them to the palace. Esther was one of the young women chosen. She didn't want to leave her home or her cousin, but she trusted Mordecai and ultimately trusted God. Little did she know, God had a special plan for her life. At the palace, Esther found favor with everyone she met. She was kind, humble, and graceful. Even the royal officials admired her. After months of preparation, it was finally time for King Xerxes to choose his new queen. When the king saw Esther, he was captivated by her beauty and her spirit. He placed the royal crown on her head and declared her Queen of Persia. But Esther kept a secret. She didn't tell anyone she was Jewish, just as Mordecai had advised. Meanwhile, Mordecai uncovered a plot to assassinate the king. He warned Esther, who told the king and saved his life. Mordecai's loyalty was recorded in the royal records, though no reward came at that time. But not everyone in the kingdom had good intentions. Haman, a high-ranking official, was filled with pride and thirsted for power. He demanded that everyone bow down to him, and everyone did, except Mordecai. Mordecai refused to bow because he only bowed to God. This made Haman furious. He was so angry that he didn't just want to punish Mordecai, he wanted to destroy all the Jewish people in the kingdom. Haman tricked the king into signing a terrible decree. On a certain day, all the Jews in the kingdom would be killed. The people were terrified, and Mordecai tore his clothes in grief. But even in his sorrow, he had hope. He sent a message to Esther, urging her to go to the king and plead for their lives. Esther was afraid. No one could approach the king without being summoned. If they did, they could be killed. But Mordecai reminded her of something important. Who knows? Perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this. Esther knew what she had to do. She asked all the Jews to pray and fast with her for 3 days. And then, with a heart full of courage, she went to see the king. The king welcomed Esther and asked what she wanted. She invited the king and Haman to a special banquet. At the banquet, the king asked Esther again what she wanted, but Esther was wise. She invited them to a second banquet the next day. Meanwhile, Haman built a massive gallows, planning to hang Mordecai. But that night, something unexpected happened. The king couldn't sleep. He asked for the royal records to be read to him, and he was reminded of how Mordecai had saved his life. The next morning, the king asked Haman how to honor a man who had done a great service. Haman, thinking the king meant him, suggested a lavish parade. To his shock, the king ordered Haman to honor Mordecai instead. Haman was humiliated, but his troubles were far from over. At the second banquet, Esther finally revealed her secret. She told the king that she was Jewish and that Haman had plotted to kill her people. The king was furious. He ordered Haman to be executed on the very gallows Haman had built for Mordecai. Thanks to Esther's courage, the Jewish people were saved. Mordecai was promoted to a high position, and Esther continued to use her influence to protect her people. The story of Esther reminds us that God can use anyone to accomplish his plans. Even when things seem hopeless, God is still at work, and sometimes he places us exactly where we need to be. for such a time as this. Remember, no matter who you are or where you come from, God has a plan for your life. Want to hear more amazing Bible stories? Like, share, and subscribe for more. See you next time.